Hello, my name is Jenna McNeil. I am a SIS-A trainer with AAIDD, and today we will discuss the Supports Intensity Scale, Adult Version, Second Edition. We'll first go into the history or some history of the Supports Intensity Scale. We will give general information, and we will discuss the SIS-A Second Edition interview process. So let's start by giving a brief overview of the history of the Supports Intensity Scale. SIS was developed by AAIDD over a 5-year period from 1998 to 2003 in response to changes in how society views and relates to people with disabilities. We'll talk about some of those trends and changes in just a moment. SIS was released in 2004. And in 2015, enhancements were made. So SIS, the Supports Intensity Scale, became SIS-A, the Supports Intensity Scale adult version. In 2023, the SIS-A Second Edition was released. It is a more contemporized version of the 2015 SIS assessment. Additional medical and behavioral questions were added. Post-pandemic descriptions, virtual, computer age, and social media examples were added to the item descriptions as well. Item descriptions were refreshed and reordered to provide clarity. SIS was developed due to 5 major changes in the way society related to and viewed people with disabilities. These 5 trends are on the screen now. 5 major changes or trends included the changes in expectations for people with disabilities, a change in the functional descriptions of disabilities, recognizing the cultural and chronological age appropriate activities, a shift towards person-centered thinking, where supports and services are individually driven, and the growth of support networks providing individualized supports. A shift in thinking contributed to the need and the use of the Supports Intensity Scale. These trends not only created a need for this tool, but these trends are the beliefs, the values, the fundamentals. This is the heart of SIS-A. This leads us to some of those core SIS-A fundamentals, such as people with disabilities deserve to explore dreams and interests instead of viewing disabilities, physical or intellectual, as a limitation. Our views and questions should shift towards how can I help? What support does my loved one, friend that I support, what support do they need to fully participate in everyday activities? People with disabilities deserve to experience the same rights and responsibilities as other adults their age, to explore their dreams, their hopes, and their goals, to discover and access opportunities that are available to other adults their age and in their community, and to contribute as a valued member of their community. The fundamentals are reflected in the strengths of SIS-A. SIS-A is not an adaptive behavioral scale. It's not a test. It's a conversation between a team of respondents, the person being assessed, and an interviewer. And we'll talk more about that later. The assessment tools of the past focused on skill deficits, what the person cannot do or can't do. The SIS-A is a strength-based. SIS reflects a different way of thinking about assessments, focusing on the supports needed, not the deficits. SIS-A is consistent with the values of community inclusion, self-direction, individual choice and control, and person-centered thinking. These are all terms we have or are becoming familiar with, while in the past, these values and words were non-existent. SIS-A is a change agent and assisting our individuals to be successful, to have a voice, to be cared for at the level that best supports them. SIS-A second edition measures the support. It focuses on a person's strengths, where they are in their lives right now. If given the same opportunity to participate in the same activities, tasks as any other adult their age in their community, how would we help, assist, support that individual to complete the task or to fully participate in the activity? It does not focus on what an individual can or cannot do. The focus is on the supports an individual needs to be successful. This is a strengths-based assessment. We focus on supports and success to complete the task, to fully participate in the activity. What is SIS-A second edition measuring? SIS-A measures the pattern and intensity of support that a person with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities needs to successfully accomplish adult life activities. In other words, SIS-A focuses on identifying supports needed to engage in everyday adult activities in the community. As you can see, our arrow is pointing to success. Success is defined as engagement in all aspects of an activity to the level or involvement comparable to an adult without disabilities. Research shows that the SIS-A second edition accomplishes this both reliably and accurately. To get to success, individuals may need supports. And SIS-A asks what type of support is needed, how often, and how long would it take to provide supports? Supports include help and assistance from others, then taking into account the strategies. What does that support look like? The supports needed to reach success. And what is success? Just talked about that in the previous slide. To fully participate in the activity, to complete the task. Now that we have a little background about the supports intensity scale, let's talk about the interview. It is required to have at least 2 valid respondents to complete the assessment, which we'll discuss more or go into more detail in the coming slides. The setting should be comfortable for the person and respondents, free from distractions, and a safe environment to discuss confidential information. You'll see on the next line that it says the assessment can take about 2 to 3 hours to complete. So it's important to have an environment where all respondents, including the person being assessed, is comfortable. Snacks, water, juice, a comfortable setting is encouraged. Breaks are offered, and at any time if you need to step away or take a break, or please let the assessor know. It's encouraged. The assessments can be conducted in person and virtually. It is important to be in a space where respondents feel comfortable to freely discuss support needs and activities without distractions. So an office, a home environment are great examples of settings where the assessment can be held. All items must be completed. So whether the individual is currently participating in the activity, the item must still be rated. Completing the item will describe the amount of support the person needs. All right, the interview is more, so this is a second edition interview. This interview is more of a guided conversation between a trained interviewer and respondents, which can include the person. Interviewers are trained, experienced SIS assessors. They're asking open-ended questions about a person's support needs. Ideally, it is preferred to have at least two respondents and the individual being assessed to participate throughout the assessment. Please note the interviewer will need to meet the individual before the start of the assessment. So whether the person remains for the entire assessment or parts, it can either be as much as a meet and greet at the beginning of the assessment, but is always encouraged for our individuals to stay as long as they are comfortable. Earlier, I mentioned valid respondents. So let's talk a little bit about let's talk a little more about what makes a valid respondent. A respondent must have known the person for at least 3 months and have had the opportunity to observe and or had to support the person in one or more environment for substantial periods of time. It is critical to know the person's support needs to be a valid respondent. Who is a respondent? The person is a respondent, parents, relatives, guardian, direct support staff, work supervisor, teachers, friends, anyone who works or lives with the person and understands their support needs. So, roles and responsibilities of a respondent. Respondents have the responsibility to know the person's support needs. So as we talked about in the previous slide, it is extremely important for respondents to have observed and or supported the individual in one or more environment. So the respondents can know the person's support needs, share accurate information, honestly consider the person's support needs. So whether or not the person is currently participating in the activity, really consider their support needs. Taking a step back and thinking, if this person were given the opportunity to participate in these activities that we're talking about, what would that support look like? What assistance would they need? And then provide perspective and reasoning and information about their support needs. The individual as a respondent. So we discussed the individual being assessed, the individual that's being assessed as a valid respondent in the previous slides. Having their own voice, being a part of their team that makes the decisions to help them accomplish their goals and to participate in community activities can be an empowering experience. As a respondent, the individual can bring their own perspective, supports, and interests that others may not have considered or known. There are many times assessors are completing assessments and the interviewer is hearing all different perspectives about what this person wants to do. They're sharing their interests and their goals, and the team had no idea that this was important to them. This is what we like to call, or at least I like to call, those aha moments. And they can occur or happen frequently or from time to time in our SIS assessments. As a respondent, the individual can bring valuable insight to the discussion. And again, assessors will need to meet the individual before the assessment starts. So whether it's a short time at the beginning or we stay and meet for parts or the whole assessment, the individual is encouraged to participate as much as they are comfortable. So the SIS-A second edition starts with exceptional medical and behavioral support needs, section 1A and 1B. Section 1, exceptional medical and behavioral support needs. On what you see on the screen are guidelines. These are our guidelines that we use to rate the support needs, that we follow to rate the support needs. As we look at these items, we want to rate along these guidelines of exceptional support. So rating above and beyond the routine medical care. We want to rate current supports, a snapshot of supports that are occurring now for this person, that exceptional medical and behavioral issue. So the snapshot of supports that are occurring now for this exceptional medical and behavioral issue. Supports provided by people So not technology. This is people supports. And not all items may apply, but all items must be completed. Section 1A, exceptional medical supports, has 24 medical items, and we want to focus on significant, ongoing, recurring, exceptional medical support needs. So the first 4 items in Section 1A are under respiratory care. So an example would be inhalation and oxygen therapy, the support needed for inhalation and oxygen therapy. The next 4 items, feeding assistance. Support needed for tube feedings would be an example in this section. Skincare, item 2, there are 2 items, and an example here would be turning and repositioning. And under other, there are 14 items. An example would be the support needed for ostomy and catheter care. Section 1B, exceptional behavioral support needs. So there are 14 items in this section. The focus of the behavior section is the prevention. And so as you can see, that's circled here, the prevention of the behavior. Assessors will discuss all 14 behavioral items with respondents. And while the behaviors are noted, the purpose of this section is to capture the support needed to prevent the behaviors from happening so significantly and or frequently. The first 4 items are externally directed behavior, and an example would be assaults and injuries to others. The next is self-directed behaviors, 4 items, and an example here would be the support to prevent self-injurious behaviors. The next is sexual behavior, and the 2 items, the support needed to prevent aggressive and inappropriate non-aggressive sexual behaviors, and then other 4 items. And one example here would be the support to prevent substance abuse. This slide is your respondent guide showing the rating key for Section A and Section 1B. With the rating guide rating describing the intensity of support ranging from 0 to 2, no exceptional support needed, so 0, 1, some exceptional support needed, and 2 would be extensive support needed. And this is what we would use to rate Section 1A and Section 1B. Section 2, the support needs for life activities. Section 2 of the SIS-A second edition addresses 7 key areas in a person's life and the supports they need to be successful in those areas. The first area addresses home living activities and discusses the support needed to complete activities and tasks in the home environment. Examples for the items in this section would be the support needed for eating, bathing and personal hygiene, supports needed for dressing. Community living activities, this focuses on the support needed to participate in activities in that person's community. So examples of one of the 8 items would be getting from place to place throughout the community, participating in recreation and leisure activities, and shopping. Health and safety would be the next section, and this focuses on the support needed to ensure that the person is healthy and safe. 8 items in this section as well, and this would include supports needed to take medication and maintain physical health and fitness. Lifelong learning activities. The first 5 focus on the supports and individual needs to learn and use everyday life skills. An example, learning self-determination skills. While the last 4 focuses on the supports needed to participate in activities in an educational setting. So interacting with others in the learning activities. Work activities includes 8 items, And this would be the support to maintain work activities in a community setting. It focuses on the support needed to complete work-related tasks with an acceptable quality is an example as well for one of those items. Social activities includes 8 items, and this could be the support needed to interact and socialize appropriately with others. So using appropriate social skills is one of those examples of an item within this section as well. Advocacy. Advocacy focuses on supports related to self-determination, making choices and decisions, and advocating for self and others. So just like section 1, section 2 has its own rating key as well, and it focuses on the type of support, the frequency, and the daily support time. And that includes questions such as, for type of support, what extraordinary support would be needed for success in this activity? For frequency of support, if the person were to engage in the activities on a regular basis over the next several months, how often would support be needed? And then daily support time. How much total extraordinary support time across a typical 24-hour day would be needed for success in this activity? And each question is asked what type of support is needed, the frequency of support, and the daily support. Once the assessment is completed, you may receive a summary report. This is what you see on the screen. On the left side of your screen is a snapshot of the supports and individual needs. On the right column, you'll see these areas such as what matters to me, what's important to that individual, their likes and their points of interests. And also the other priorities, what's important for me. These items will be and are discussed and noted during the assessment. Medical and behavioral supports that were rated and or noted will be captured in the area in the bottom of the summary report on the right, as you can see. And then the following pages go into more detail and notes each question and their rating for each part of the assessment. This is a great tool for ISPs for planning purposes. So this is a sample of the SIS-A second edition summary report. As you can see, for more information, if you'd like more information about the SIS-A second edition, there are more resources on the link that you see below, on the website link that you see below. Thank you. Have a great day.